I've covered so much of the aged mod pack already, but I find myself learning about so much more the more that I play. And of course, you guys in the comments section helping me out as well. You guys are awesome. Well, I've gone ahead and compiled more features and helpful tips and tricks to make your experience in the aged mod pack that much better. Welcome to Zman's Guide to the Aged Mod Pack Part 3. Alright everybody, so let's go ahead and get into it. So one of the biggest questions that I get asked in my comments is about levels and skills. For example, this comment by Shulks here: do I only get XP for the skills if I complete jobs, or does any XP gained from advancements in killing mobs count? So XP gained from advancement or killing mobs does count towards your levels and your skill points here. So I want to show this on camera here. I'm currently sitting at Farmer level 5. And you guys will want to pay attention to my XP bar down at the bottom here. So as I'm going through, mining up these resources here, I'll slowly but surely start getting skill points. And you can see there, because I had the farmer job selected, we upgraded our farmer job, we get a little bit of XP towards our skills and a little bit of XP to ourselves. Just for a quick clarification, whatever skills you do, whether you're mining, farming, any job that you're doing, as long as you gain XP from this, they correlate into your skills and your regular XP as well. Okay, under this beautiful starry sky, I want to go over the next topic of Eyes of Ender. Now, I've gotten comments saying you don't need to get certain specific eyes for getting to the end, but these 12 I have found to be the easiest. The Witch Eye, the Black Eye, Magical Eye, Wither Eye, Lost, Corrupted, Guardian, Cryptic, Nether, Exotic, Undead, and Evil. Now, the two questionable ones I would say that might be even a little more difficult to get compared to the Old Eye or the Rogue Eye are the Undead Eye and the Exotic Eye. So in order to get the Witch Eye, all you need is to kill a witch that drops its pupil, and then you combine it with an Eye of Ender and you get the Witch Eye. The Black Eye can be found in any buried treasure chests. So, and I've gotten plenty of buried treasure maps that I have found tons of black eyes from. Magical eyes, these are easy to get as well because all you need to do, trigger a raid or even find a pillager POI that has an evoker in it, take it out, and you get yourself a magical eye. Now the corrupted eye, same goes for pillager outposts, camps, etc. All you need to do is find a chest that has one of these, and more than likely, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be able to find a corrupted eye. Now for the Lost Eye, you can find a mine shaft literally anywhere in the world and find it. I have found so many of these Lost Eyes, it's not funny. This one I debate is probably the easiest one out of any of these. Now the Wither Eye, all you need to do is kill a Wither. This might be a little more later game for you. If you're at this point, if you're trying to get to the end, you're more than likely going to be able to take on the Wither with relative ease. And that's why I find this one to be one of the easier ones. Now, the Nether Eye is pretty easy to find as well. I would say probably just as easy as finding the Lost Eye. All you need to do is find a Nether Fortress and find one of the chests, and you'll be able to find the Nether Eye easy peasy. The Cryptic Eye, while it has a very small chance of obtaining it, you can only get it through enchanting. If you have the resources and the XP to sit there grinding enchanting, more than likely you will have a better chance of getting a Cryptic Eye. Now the Guardian Eye, all you need to do is find a Elder Guardian. And I have found plenty of ocean temples that have had Elder Guardians in them, so it is pretty easy to just go ahead, take one of these out, and get yourself a Guardian Eye. Now the Evil Eye is also pretty simple to get. All you have to do is trade with a Master Cleric, and then you'll be able to get the Evil Eye from its trades. Now, when it comes to the Undead and the Exotic Eye, I do find these to be slightly more difficult. While I haven't personally got them yet, I probably would have better luck trying to make one of these two rather than finding an Old Eye, Cold Eye, or a Rogue Eye. I would even say the Cursed Eye could be a little bit easier to get or obtain compared to these two, but for the Undead Eye, it's relatively simple to make. The only requirement that you really need to focus on is getting an undead soul. Now, the only way that you're able to get an undead soul is from killing a skeleton horse. If you can get that, then all you need is a phantom membrane, a bone, rotten flesh, and a ghast tear. And bada bing, bada boom, you have yourself an undead eye. Now, the exotic eye, I would say, is probably the most difficult to craft because it requires you to have all 4 types of coral, 2 glow ink sacks, 2 conduits, and an Eye of Ender to make the exotic eye. I will say though, if you have better luck, of finding a desert temple, an igloo, a jungle temple, or a bastion remnant, I say best of luck to you and GG's, because I've not been able to find a single one of these types of eyes, and I have looked long and hard for the POIs, and the chance of getting these seems to be pretty low if you ask me. So I would say out of these, all the eyes that you're able to obtain, these 12 here should be the ones you should try to aim for. All right, so the next thing I want to go over, I didn't go super deep into it in my previous guide videos, but there is technically a second storyline that you can follow through the Dungeons and Taverns mod. So I wanted to kind of go through all the structures there and how you're going to be able to beat them. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find yourself a tavern. That these spawn through majority of the regular vanilla biomes, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find one, but they are kind of sparse. But once you go ahead and find yourself towards the second floor of the structure, you can find a chest that will have a map in it. Now, it varies between all of the various structures that you will get a specific map for one of these. So I'm waiting for this one to spawn. Okay, it's taking forever. So for example, say this map said a stray fortress map. You would look at the map and it would have the location of where the structure would be, much like you would find for like a woodland mansion map from a normal villager. Now you are able to get maps as well from trading with cartographer villagers. I do want to preface that as well. So if you aren't able to find a tavern like this, if you can find a cartographer villager, you'll be able to trade with them to eventually get a map of some sorts. Just so I can physically show you guys, if we take a look at this, you can see that we get an Ocean Explorer map from this cartographer here. Now, I will preface too that some villages that you go to and try to trade with for cartographers to get these specific maps, some of them may duplicate, and some you may not be able to get, which may be simply tied to these tavern structures that you'll have to find in order to actually complete the storyline for Dungeons and Taverns. So the first structure I wanted to go over was the Badlands Mine Outpost. Now these spawn in various different Badland types. It's not always going to be in the Badlands. You can sometimes find these in some of the custom biomes that are built into the mod pack. This is just the first one that I was able to find. So the way to beat these things, I also wanted to cover this first because I had a horrible experience with my first encounter with one of these. So I want to nip this one in the butt first. Now, when you're taking on one of these pillager outposts, you're going to encounter some pillagers, some evokers, some vindicators even, and you may even come across some dark rooms like this where mobs can even spawn as well. But generally in these rooms, you can find tons of helpful resources, especially for earlier in game. I would say you would definitely want to make sure that your attack, health, and defense stats are up so that you can have at least iron armor. I would say even invest in some archery skills as well. Having a bow to take on one of these will be extremely helpful for you. Now, generally speaking, once you've gone ahead and taken out all of the pillagers, vindicators, whatever mobs that may be spawning in here, you can find chests that will have another map that will lead you to another location here. For example, you can have this ancient city map, and throughout the structures, you'll be able to find more maps that will lead you to the next structure that you should be taking on from here. And I don't want you guys to forget either that there is an entire cave system below this structure, so you definitely want to go through it, make sure that you take out all the vindicators, evokers, whatever may be down here, and find some pretty half-decent loot. Mostly for the resources that you can find down here, like the gold, iron, coal, and other various minerals. So the next structure I wanted to go ahead and take a look at are the desert ruins. You obviously have yourselves the desert pyramid here, and there are some outlying structures as well that you are able to explore, whether they might be buried or whatever, but you can definitely do a little bit more exploring rather than just the main temple. Now, if we go ahead and just take a look through some of the stuff, some of the loot that you're able to find, bones, iron, gold, all that good stuff, but also inside the main pyramid here, you'll see that there's actually a little bit more of a challenge now when it comes to taking on the desert pyramid. There's mobs that can spawn in here. You also have this big room full of sand that you need to dig yourself down into in order to get to the valuable resources that you can find here. Now, I personally haven't encountered one of these in my own playthrough. Generally speaking, these should all be relatively the same in regards to where the loot's going to be. As you can see here, we dug quite a bit of ways down here. It's not going to be entirely easy, especially if you have mobs constantly spawning around you. And as you can see here, once you get down to the bottom, it is a booby-trapped, like the normal desert pyramids that you would find in vanilla Minecraft. So let's go ahead and take a look, and right there, and bada bing, bada boom, that's how you're going to lose pretty much everything. So you definitely want to be careful when it comes to taking on this structure here, because while you can find more resources and whatnot from these chests, you're mostly going to be wanting to try to find the old eye from one of these barrels, chests, whatever you may be able to find. Next up, we have the jungle ruins. Now, as you can see here, much similar to the desert ruins, there are some outlying structures that you're going to be able to kind of explore, but the main thing you're going to be wanting to get into, obviously, is this pyramid here. Now, to get inside, it's right up through here, and you have a few puzzles that you will need to kind of figure out and get yourself through. Now, obviously, I'm not going to try to spoil too much of this puzzle, so I want you to kind of figure it out for yourself. So once you're inside, you're going to be encountered with a bit of a maze as well. I would say watch your step, because there are some traps that you can encounter as well. So while I'm trying to figure out this maze, and this right here is the room that you're going to look for. Now, obviously, you'll want to be on the lookout for mobs, but this room is heavily booby-trapped as well, so you might want to keep that in mind when you're trying to go about exploring this. Okay, so I lied. That was not the room that you actually wanted to find. It was this one here. Obviously, as you can see, we've got tons of gold, a whole bunch of emeralds. And here, I mean, you'll be able to find some half-decent loot. Mostly what you'll be wanting to look for in these chests is, in fact, the rogue eye. Now, I obviously haven't been able to find one just yet, and it's kind of a bummer that we haven't been able to find one. But obviously, it's not guaranteed to be found in one of these structures. So you may have to look through multiple ones of these structures in order to find the rogue eye. All right, the last overworld structure we're going to go ahead and take a look at is the Creeping Crypt. Now, if you come across one of these, it's kind of obvious what you're looking at. It's a creeper face. So there's obviously a main entrance that you'll be able to find when you're going through these. Now, these are massive as well. These are not going to be super easy to kind of navigate. You will probably want to have to, use some torches, take notes of where you're going and whatnot, but there is tons of really good loot in here that you're able to find. Like the creeper charge banner pattern, that's pretty sweet. And I will say as well is that you might want to dig some of these out as well, because there is a chance that there is some chests hiding behind the gravel, like as you can see right here. Now, while this structure doesn't necessarily have like a final boss, much similar to the jungle ruins or the desert ruins as well, those structures didn't necessarily have a boss, but they do have their own challenges and an exponential amount of loot that you guys will be able to find from these. So I would say definitely take your time and look through this, because while they're on the surface, it might not look like you would really need anything from one of these structures. They are super helpful just for getting various resources that you might need in the long run. Now, hopping on over into the nether here, we have a couple structures that we can go over really quick here. As you can see, we have the Piglin Hamlet. Now, for this structure, there is no specific boss either as well, but it does have its own challenges, and it is fun to explore as well, along with some really useful loot like netherite scraps, various resources, and smithing templates. Next structure we're going to go ahead and take a look at is the Nether Port. So these can spawn in various different biomes. You can find them in basalt, nether wastes, crimson forests, wart forests, whatever you may be able to find them in. But these primarily hold blaze in them, and they also have some outlying structures that you're going to be able to loot as well. Now, inside here, you'll be able to find a whole lot of loot, different various rooms with various resources as well. No specific boss either that you'll be able to take on, but you will want to keep in mind that this place is heavily fortified by blazes. If you get lucky, you may even be able to find one of these piglin heads that you'll be able to put on your mantle as well. And the last structure we're going to take a look at here in the Nether is the Nether Keep. Now, various different mobs will be able to spawn in these as well. No specific boss to beat either, just a bunch of helpful resources such as trims, netherite scraps, and trapped piglins apparently. The final loot you should be trying to look for in here is in this chest here. So if you find the blaze spawner in the middle of it, go up into this chest here and you'll be able to find some really helpful and useful things such as diamonds, netherite upgrades, smithing templates, and even wither skeleton skulls if you're still in need of those. And another quick note, there is a second one of these types of rooms, so you'll definitely want to double check this chest. Once again, not as great loot in this one, a couple pieces of obsidian, some wither skeleton skulls, and some gold. So there's one more structure that I actually forgot to talk about while we're here in the overworld, and that is the Stray Fortress, or the Stray Fort. Now, this one is very, very wonkily built, or generated, I should say. Inside here, you will find a whole bunch of different strays. You'll find, obviously, more loot, but the loot that you'll be wanting to look for is going to be down these stairs through the main entrance. But down in this area, you will find primarily the main loot that you want to find. You'll find various things like ice, pumpkins, and more armor trims and banner patterns. Now, there are more various structures that come with the Dungeons and Taverns mod, but these ones I wanted to mostly cover because these are the ones that you'll get the most out of through this mod pack. For example, there are some like ruin structures that you'll be able to find throughout the world that don't really necessarily have any major importance to the storyline that is Dungeons and Taverns. So I'm not going to cover those. You'll be able to find those all by yourself. They might have a couple various different resources you might need, but nothing super significant to really bring to light here for this guide. All right, so the next thing that we're going to go ahead and take a look at are Young's Better jungle temples. The mod itself has a whole bunch of various different better expansions on the various vanilla structures, such as this jungle temple here. Now, when you first find one of these things, you're going to want to try to look for this creeper face here for the main entrance to get in here. Now, going through here, there are going to be a couple challenges, puzzles that you will need to figure out, such as this one here. And I'll just give you a quick example of how this one works. So as long as we keep walking along the right path here, if we stray off of it, you're going to get shot at with a bunch of fire arrows, and you don't want to do that. As you progress through the structure here, you're going to want to try to find these specific stairs. Now, it's not guaranteed to be found under each and every single one, but if you go around here and take a look in the back, as you can see, I've already opened this one, you will be able to find the rogue eye that you're going to need for getting to the end. And once again, you're going to find some other challenges like this parkour here that you'll have to complete in order to get to the end. And this here is where you're going to find next to where the end is going to be. Now, I am kind of spoiling a couple things. There are going to be other different puzzles and challenges you'll need to do in order to get into the final room here, which is going to be right through here. And as you can see, I kind of set off the trap on accident. Normally, you'll be able to find a lot of cool resources such as gold, emeralds, diamonds, etc. Okay, so this structure here is actually a custom desert pyramid that you're going to be able to find, and this is the one that you're going to want to look for in order to find the old eye. So if we go ahead and take a look at the entrance here, it says no entry, but we're just going to ignore that. Who really needs to do that? And yeah, yep, you'll want to kind of pay attention to where you're walking, otherwise you're going to be ending up down here, impaled on some stalactites or mauled by some husks. This place is heavily booby trapped, so I would say be very cautious, very careful. Take out these pressure plates so that you don't accidentally trigger something. But once you go ahead and get in here, you just have to go into the back and take out these pressure plates. Take a look in one of these chests, and as you can see, we actually found the Old Eye, along with this divine helmet, which I've actually never seen before. And in this back room, you obviously will have to encounter and deal with some husk spawners, but overall you get some pretty sweet things like the Dune armor, the divine helmet, and the Old Eye. Alright, next up on the list we have the Better Desert Pyramid, or the Desert Temple. So as you can see, it's gotten quite the overhaul for design wise, which I think honestly looks really cool. But this is the main entrance that you're going to be wanting to look for. Now, some of the times these might be buried, so digging around near these towers, around the middle of them, you should be able to find the main entrance here. Now, inside, normally it is very dark. There are spawners as well. You'll mostly be encountering husks, and there are puzzles you will need to complete. So I don't know how this one works, if I'm being completely honest. I want somebody to actually kind of figure out these puzzles themselves. But for each puzzle that you do complete on the 3 sides here, aside from the main entrance, this will open up, which will then take you down into this room here. And then you have quite a few other rooms that you will be able to explore as well. Sometimes you might need to break through some walls or whatnot. But as you can see here, we got like I forget the name of the Egyptian god. I think it's Anubis. But you can see here we got some gold, some emeralds, but you might also want to be a little more careful opening these because they very well could be trapped. Now this structure actually does have a boss that you will have to beat in order to complete the actual challenge. But if we just even go ahead and quickly look through a few of these rooms, you may have to do a little bit of exploring to find this room. You sometimes might have to crawl through some of these small tunnels here. So if you're kind of claustrophobic, I would be wary of going through. So when you're looking for the final room, you're gonna want to listen for any husks. Now, as you can see here, this is the final room that you're gonna want to be looking for. As you can see, that we got a whole bunch of husks spawning in here, and there are a couple spawners that you will have to take out as well. But the main guy that you're going to want to be looking for is this guy right here. Now this guy here is the final main boss, as you can see, but once you actually go ahead and kill him, and there you go, once you actually go ahead and take out the final boss's head, obviously you'll still need to go ahead and take care of these husks and the spawners as well, but there is some loot back behind here that you'll want to be able to grab. Now this loot really is not that great. I should also preface too, when you go to take on this structure, you will get mining fatigue. So it's not going to be as easy as just digging through walls to get to this final room. You will actually have to push yourself to learn the pattern, get through the challenges to actually complete it. But once you actually complete that, then you'll be able to mine down to here. Now you will want to be careful because there are pressure plates, but you will be able to get down to these various chests here for the loot. And as you can see, we can find an old eye in one of these as well. And finally, the final structure we're going to go ahead and take a look at is the Ocean Temple. Now these got a major overhaul, if you ask me. These also look really nice, but if you go inside, swim down, you obviously have to fend yourself off from all these guardians. But there is a trident that you will be able to snag up as well. That's just kind of sitting here in the middle. You'll be able to go ahead and grab that and continue on through the Ocean Temple. Now, there are a couple tunnels that you will be able to go through as well. These will take you to various different rooms that you will be able to find the Elder Guardians in. And when you kill the Elder Guardians, I don't know why I keep trying to say Ender. When you take out the Elder Guardians, they will drop the Guardian Eye that you will need to get to the end. Okay, so it's not a guaranteed drop, which thankfully there are other Elder Guardians that you're going to be able to take on. We go on over into this other room. You may have to do a little bit of exploring down here. I highly suggest bringing some potions of water breathing if at all possible. So if the first Guardian doesn't drop a Guardian Eye for you, you can go up towards the top of this structure here, and you'll be able to find the second Elder Guardian to hopefully get an eye from. So if we go ahead and knock this guy out, While he didn't drop an eye, he did drop a Heart of the Sea, which I find to be interesting. So it's not a guaranteed drop that you will get a Guardian Eye. If you are able to find multiple of these structures, you will have a better chance of getting a Guardian Eye. Hopping on over into the Nether, there is one more better structure that has been upgraded, and that is the Nether Fortress. As you can see, there's been a major overhaul to how the Nether Fortress looks, which I think looks really freaking cool. Sometimes I look at these mods and think to myself, man, it would be so cool if Mojang could incorporate these kinds of structures one day. The part of the Nether Fortress that you're going to want to look for is this main gate here. Once you go through there, you will come up to the main part of the Nether Fortress, and coming in through here, you will be greeted in this room here with a giant homage to the Wither made out of Blackstone. But if you come up to the second floor here, there's a whole bunch of various different resources and that you will definitely want to snag up. And in one of the corners, you'll also want to look for a staircase that goes down. This goes down into what I dub the catacombs of the structure. There are more valuable resources that you'll be able to find and other different things that may be helpful for you. And it's just a nice little thing to do to explore. As you can see here, it branches off in all four directions, and there's a whole lot more to find. Hopefully that section explaining the structures of Dungeons and Taverns and the better structures from Young's mods was a good enough explanation. If you guys do have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to leave a comment down below. Alright, so the next thing I want to go over is some of the cooking mechanics that come in this mod pack. Mostly comes from the Let's Do group of mods. So let's do Farmlight, let's do Farm&Charm, or I'm sorry, Candlelight and Farm&Charm, etc. Starting off, the first thing you're going to be able to craft, most of these come from the farming skill tree. So the more your farming skill goes up, the more of these you will be able to unlock. Starting at farming level 5, you unlock the crafting bowl. You throw a bunch of resources in here, mix them up by right-clicking, and then you get various certain things like dough. Now, I've noticed that in the most recent update, you no longer get a crafting book in the UI whenever you want to try to look something up. Okay, so farming level 13 is when you're actually going to be able to get started into actually crafting up some food. So, with the stove here, this is where you're going to be able to actually craft some bread. You may have noticed early game when you're trying to craft some bread the normal way through the crafting table or even using a crafting rock, that does not work. You will need to make a stove of some sort in order to make bread. So please keep that in mind whenever you're trying to make certain foods that you thought would be made normally, but they aren't. Moving on here, we have the 5 main cooking accessories that you'll need to make certain resources. Starting with the cooking pot, you unlock this at farming level 16, and I'll go ahead and throw up the crafting recipes for all of these as well as we go along. So at farming 16, you unlock the cooking pot. At farming level 18, you unlock the cooking pan. At farming level 19, you are able to craft the copper cooking pot. At farming level 22, you can make the cooking cauldron, and at farming 24, you can make the frying pan. Once again, while you're in here, you will want to take a look at some of the crafting recipes through the EMI search here. Now moving on, you are able to also make some herbal brews through the tea kettles here. As you can see, at level 16 stamina, you'll have to keep that in mind. The tea kettles are unlocked through the stamina skill tree. Starting at level 16, you can make the copper one, and then at stamina level 22, you can make the iron one. Or it's not technically called an iron tea kettle, but it's made from iron. You should know what I mean. Now, I will say one thing that has taken me quite off guard is in the past, there was the cooking book somewhere, or there was the crafting book that you had unlocked, but now, unfortunately, it seems it has been removed, probably in favor for the EMI search here, which personally, if you ask me, I think is kind of a huge blunder towards people that might be enticed to work with the custom crafting of foods, or custom cooking, I should say. But if you aren't interested in any of these kinds of things, regular old steak, pork chops, gold carrots, stuff like that still works perfectly fine as a sustainable food source. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is hop into the guidebook here. I know I'm kind of referencing it and taking some tips and tricks from it, but still, I think some of these are going to be super helpful for you guys. So the one place we are going to want to look is tools and weapons. If you go ahead and take a look in here, you can see that we have many various types of different weapons that you can use during your adventures. As you can see here, we have a wooden battle axe. Now you can make these through all the various different resources all the way up to diamond, and then using netherite upgrades, you can upgrade these to netherite. So starting with the wood axe, all you need is 2 sticks and 3 planks. For a wooden longsword, you need a stick and 4 different planks. For a wooden dagger, all you need is 1 plank and 1 stick. For a wooden Francisca, you need 1 plank and 2 sticks. For a wooden war axe, which I think one is really fun to use, is 3 sticks and 3 planks. The wooden mace, which does a lot of damage when it's actually upgraded, is 4 planks and 1 stick. The wooden Najado, which needs 2 planks and a stick. Wooden sickle with 3 planks and a stick. Wooden rapier with 2 planks and a stick. And a wooden lance with 4 sticks and a plank. And last but not least, the wooden javelin, which can be used as melee and ranged with 1 plank and 2 sticks. And then we can move on over into the ranged weapons. So instead of just your standard typical bow, there are other bows you can use as well, such as the recurve bow, which you can unlock using at archery level 18 with 3 strings and 3 sticks. Longbow can be made at archery level 24 with 5 sticks and 3 string. And then you even have some other useful weapons as well, such as the healing staff, which can be made with 2 planks and a stick, and it can heal other people along with yourself over a long period of time. Now, one structure I probably should have gone over but didn't do so, we might hop over into it in a second here, is the underground temple, which these certain tools and weapons can only be found in these underground jungle temples, and they do not have the highest durability either. So I would make sure that if you're going to utilize these, use them very sparingly or even upgrade them. As you can see here, we can upgrade them to Blade of the Jungle, for example, using some jungle vines, some jungle spores, and the Sword of the Jungle Temple. And similar to the recipe for the sword, the Axe of Regrowth, 4 jungle vines, 4 jungle spores, and the Axe of the Jungle Temple. Then we also have the Thalia Sword, which only can be attained after you kill the Void Shadow, but it does an insane amount of attack damage. This thing is absolutely disgusting. But there are some other cool weapons to utilize as well, such as the Amorite Longsword, which is made with 3 Amorite shards, 1 Amorite block, 2 blocks of gold, and a Netherite sword. Yes, there are weapons more powerful than Netherite, but you also need to make sure that you're at alchemy level 30 before you're going to be able to make this thing. And then there are a few more weapons that you can craft from breaking spawners, or going through the labyrinth mod, or going through the labyrinth dungeon, which is actually something I did not go through. We may hop over to check one of those out really quick. So with it, you can make a spawner sword, which deals 3 additional damage, but it takes health away from you each time that you use it. Now keep in mind, you do need to be at alchemy level 30 in order to craft the following weapons. The next thing is the Life Stealer, which is honestly a really cool weapon as well. You need to have luck 30 unlocked for this, but you need 3 spawner blades, some soul silk, and 2 sticks. Now a lot of these components can be found in the labyrinth dungeon. And finally, the Scepter of Sealed Chaos, which summons the Sealed Chaos to aid the user in battle. Now, the only way you can get this chaotic hexahedron is if you beat the final boss in the dungeon. So once you beat the final boss, it will drop one of these chaotic hexahedrons. You will then need 2 spawner blades and 2 sticks to create the Scepter of Sealed Chaos, which you need to be at luck level 30 to use. Okay, so I've already done enough rambling on this video already. I'm going to try to get through these last 2 structures really quick for you guys, just so you can at least know what to expect going into these. So I went ahead and made the command to find myself an underground jungle temple. So hopping into spectator mode here, if we go ahead, look underground here, we can see that there's actually underground jungle temple right here. Okay, so coming into the jungle temple here, you're going to come across some mossy skeletons. These are custom to this structure specifically, but let me tell you, they're not exactly the smartest. And you will be able to find various different loot such as moss blocks, vines, mushrooms, iron gold, etc. Now, as I mentioned, I've already explored this one before, but in one of these chests here, you'll be able to find the temple key. And once you go ahead and obtain this, continue on through the temple here, and eventually you'll come across a room that has this special chest here, which is known as the temple chest. Right click on this and you will open up the temple chest, and inside you will find moss, vines, and probably, more than likely, sword of the jungle temple or another jungle weapon or tool inside. Okay, so I've gone ahead and hopped into spectator mode here because I want you guys to actually fully understand what I mean when I say this dungeon is by far the biggest dungeon you will take on in this mod pack. This thing can span for hundreds, and I mean hundreds of blocks, with other various POIs that can spawn inside of these as well. That's how big that they are and how much space they actually take up. So if we go ahead, we can see some of the various rooms and whatnot, such as these spike rooms with like these ladders and platforms that we have to climb up and down and whatnot. There's also resource rooms where there's spawners that you do have to kind of worry about. And keep in mind, this place is pitch black, so mobs will be spawning quite frequently. All I will say about this dungeon specifically is don't get discouraged. You will eventually find the end to it, because like I said, this thing can span hundreds of blocks among multiple Y coordinates as well. I've seen them from where they're like right under the surface go all the way down straight to bedrock. Like, that's how big these things can be. The room that you're going to be wanting to look for is this one here, and let me tell you, it's going to get very dangerous very quickly, because you have 8 total spawners that are constantly spawning mobs within this range. Not only with it being pitch black as well, you're going to have quite the fight ahead of yourself. But this right here is the final boss. So in order to activate the boss fight here, you're going to need this Skull of Chaos. Now, quick preface as well, you will need to have smithing level 30 unlocked, and you'll also need to craft this thing. So in order to make the Skull of Chaos, you're going to need 1 chain, 5 spawner frames, and a spawner blade. Now, it's very simple to make these spawner frames. If you're breaking spawners throughout this dungeon, it'll be very easy for you to make, because all you need is 4 spawner fragments to make this frame. Now, once you're at smithing level 30, you're geared up, you've managed to take out these spawners and whatnot. All you have to do is right click next to this spawner, and then you've awakened the boss. And as you can see, the boss bar up top has come in, and you will then initiate the fight. Now, I will be nice and give you guys a quick little how-to on how to beat this boss, because it took me a little while to actually figure it out. What you need to do actually is remove these corners. Wherever you see like this diamond looking block, you'll want to go ahead and knock this thing out, and then it opens and exposes the Chaos spawner boss. And then you just go ahead and punch it, and because I had strength 100, I easily took it out. Open up a side, start swinging away with your weapon, and before you know it, you'll have defeated the boss, which I know might seem a little anticlimactic for this type of dungeon. Overall, I still find this one to be the most difficult dungeon of all of them. And as you can see here, as I mentioned earlier, the chaotic hexahedron, beating the chaos spawner boss is the only way you're going to be able to get one of these things. Plus, it also drops some diamonds and some great bottle of enchanting. Alright guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope this guide was extremely helpful for you, because I've been struggling quite a bit lately with these structures and trying to find them, and let me tell you, it has been one heck of a headache. So I hope that this guide has been a helpful one for you in figuring out these structures and how to get certain items as well. That is going to do it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the guide video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what are some other things you want me to kind of cover in another potential guide video. Please comment down below. And if you guys enjoyed this content as well, consider subscribing as well. I also want to say a huge shout out and thank you to all of my channel members as well. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. You guys are absolutely amazing. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.